Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam! Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Welcome, everybody. All of our 8 viewers at the moment. Thank you for tuning in live. My name is Barb Kelber, and I am your hostess for tonight. Longtime comic book artist of 35 years. And now with Silverline, I'm also the CFO of Silverline. To my right is Martin Mertonen, or to my left, I guess.
Hello. Yeah, I'm the colorist of the wonderful comic books. Wolf Hunter, and Wolf Hunter 2 is finally colored in the tank and sent to the head honcho, so hopefully that book will be printed soon. So keep your eyes peeled, folks.
Below me, right here.
Hey, everybody, I'm Cassisi Harris, writer, one of the aspiring folks here at Silverline. Done some work with Trump's in a Christmas issue, penned a Silverline Team Up Volume 2 that'll be coming out that's featuring Tempest and Miss Fury together with a new character that we're going to introduce. So that is me.
And over here, there we go.
Yeah, over here. I'm Rob Davis. I'm a penciler, inker, letterer. I've been working in the industry about as long as Barb has, about 35, going on 4 years. And I've worked at Malibu, Innovation, Marvel, DC. Whoever would pay me a couple of shekels to draw some superheroes or to draw some Star Trek. So they call me the Venerable. So what the heck?
Yeah. You look more venerable than I do.
Even though I think Barb has been in the industry a little longer than I have. If I looked at
Yeah, well, I
dates.
joined when I was 5, so you know.
Oh,
And you're 12 now, right? Okay.
Right,
yes.
there you
right.
go.
12-year-old with grandkids. That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah. How did that happen?
Oh no.
Yeah. It was time
I'm my
travel.
own grandpa.
Yes. Well, tonight we are going to talk about something that's extremely popular in manga, but is not quite as well known in from Cuba. Awesome.
Hey, hello.
That's great.
Yeah, hopefully you're weathering the weather down there
Mhm.
in Cuba, because it has a hurricane headed its way. Batten down the hatches down there.
That's
Be
right.
safe. Yeah.
Something that's incredibly popular in manga, but not so well known in American comics, although it does exist, and a lot of people don't even realize that they're reading this. It's called slice of life comics.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the cartoon strips that they're reading every single day in the newspaper is slice of life. Like For Better or Worse, and Dennis the Menace, and those are all slice of life comics.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes, yeah, that's right. It's very, very popular in manga, and mostly because high school anime or manga and romance manga, or high school romance mangas, are really, really popular for some reason. And all of those have to do with slice of life comics is basically following somebody or a group of somebody's through their everyday mundane existence and the ups and downs that come with it. And but we're in the clear. Oh, you just hold yeah.
Very good.
What's
supposed to be hitting on the west side of Cuba, so
what's most fun to me about slice of life comics is that they have a tendency to poke fun at their protagonists, and it tends to shed a light on the more embarrassing or funny aspects of our own lives. Well, if this character can be embarrassed by dropping their pants accidentally in the middle of the mall, then life isn't so bad for me either. Stuff like that. It exaggerates angst and funny moments and stuff like that make us feel better. And it's a gentle way to entertain without a stress-free way to be entertaining without the angst and agony of superhero comics, or dark and grim and gritty like Walking Dead or something like that, where something's
Or
always
some
on
of
the
the-
line.
yeah, or some of the soap opera comics that get into that's kind of slice of life, but it's almost it's overblown, almost bombastic sometimes with the soap opera stuff going on in strips. But even that is somewhat slice of life. But yeah, I can think of several strips that I look at every day that are slice of life. Zits, which is about a teenager and his parents and his friends. That's it's a slice of life every day. And then there's another one which my wife and I say that they're looking in our windows. It's called Pickles. It's about an elderly couple. So
Here's the question, though. So where would we draw the line? So if I said, hey, I'm looking at a day in the life of a detective, right? How would that be any different than, because we're kind of taking steps in the life of that hero as opposed to.
Well, yeah, but that's not an ordinary,
But it could
person
be.
living next door to you. It
Are
could,
we
yeah,
showing?
you could cover
Are we?
parts of their life.
Are we
yeah.
splitting up the comic as just the cases he's covering, or are we seeing his personal life and his relationships, going out, and stumbling with his relationships or stuff like that? If we're following every aspect of his life, then it is a slice of life comic. Not just zeroing in on the drama, the action of the cases, but everything that's involved.
It's good.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, more soap opera-ish. So yeah.
I'm going to present a few here, and I don't have a whole lot, so that'll give plenty of time for us to discuss other ones later. But here are some that I want to point out.
Yeah.
Archie is actually a pretty good example of a slice of life book that I think a lot of people don't even realize, because
Yeah.
it just
The old
shows
school Archie for sure.
well, yeah. Shoot, I'm trying to get to my.
Where's his red hair? That's not red. That's blonde. That's not Archie. Come on.
That's Archie.
That's closer. Where's the freckles? Come on.
But I mean, they're what, high school, and then what? Did they ever get to college?
I don't know.
They
Not
never
that I
got to
know of.
college.
Well, there's some interesting, like but I think it was like fantasy Archie, where he marries Betty, or he marries Veronica, and then he marries Betty. So they had two issues of that, which is kind of interesting. But
Basically,
I don't think it was part of the canon.
I mean,
No,
those
it was more like a what if.
Oh,
Yeah.
he did it at the same time. It wasn't like a polygamous type thing.
No, they did it. They did one version of what would happen if he married Veronica, and then they did another version of what would happen if he married Betty, and then the outcomes of each, and then you discovered, I think the whole thing was just a dream. So
okay.
Yeah, that's basically a what if.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
what if or else worlds? Yep.
Yeah.
But I would consider Archie to be a long-running 50 years or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It started out as a comic strip. So,
yeah. But it's always been their basic high school antics and angst. Who likes who?
So then let me ask this.
Yeah, no fantastic elements, I guess, would be
right.
the
There's no
big part.
superheroes.
So then Flintstones, I think the Flintstones and the Jetsons, if they were comics, would be slice of life. But what I'm hearing is they wouldn't be.
No, I think they would be.
So even though you can be in a fantastic, like futuristic kind of atmosphere, right, a surrounding or a setting, you could still be slice of life if we're just following your everyday life, right?
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Exactly.
You mean like Bone? I mean, Bone had some fantastic elements, but really, we're following the progression of these these characters' lives.
Yeah, like one episode takes entirely in place in the inn, right? Like
or the Great Cow Race.
Yeah. It's all involved, like the scenario, whatever the scenario is.
About the cow race.
Yeah. So there was two episodes that I remember, and those were probably the only two issues I ever picked up. One was the whole entire sequence takes place in the inn. I think it's an inn that they're staying at, and I think one of them is trying to cook something, and they're all fighting about nothing. And then the other one was the Great Cow Race. So yeah,
here's a Christmas piece where he says, "Not this time, guys. Today is different. Piping hot quiche for you. Peace on earth, fellas." There's a Christmas piece. And the rat creatures say, "What do you suppose that was all about?" And the other one goes, "Why question it? It's just some ritual the humans go through every year. Eat your quiche."
Yeah. And that's very slice of life, sure. Slice of quiche, especially in this point.
Well, the beginning of the series, we start out with the Bones showing up and a very young, innocent. Oh God, I can't remember her name. The gal's name, Thorn. Very innocent Thorn, and we kind of follow the characters as they evolve through several years, until they finally end up at the end. But it's a progression, so I would consider that to be slice of life because we're watching them go through their life.
So it sounds to me like it's not plot driven, but it's character driven.
Yeah.
Am I?
I think you're right. I think you'd be right on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Kaz?
I think so too. I won't say that 100%, but I do think
Yeah.
so though. I can't
Yeah.
find anything that would counter that, right,
It's
in my mind. So I would think that that's true. Yeah.
it's more focused on the characters than the action.
hmm
Yeah. So
Mhm.
Strangers in Paradise.
That is the ultimate slice of life, and I do have that
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
before we reach
Sorry, I
that,
jumped the gun.
Calvin and Hobbes. Yep.
Yeah.
Calvin and
Calvin and Hobbes.
Hobbes. It's
Definitely.
just one continuous life of a boy and his
His
tiger.
stuffed tiger. Yeah. His
Yeah.
stuffed tiger. Yeah. And it works. I love Calvin and Hobbes because it works on two levels.
Mhm.
It works
And that would be?
on that Hobbes is just a stuffed tiger, and it also works on a level if Hobbes were really a real tiger. It's
Mhm.
yeah, it's an interesting way to look at the world. Definitely.
Yeah. So there's a very interesting comic that's related to this that somebody decided to do. Calvin has grown up and become a dad,
Yes.
and then hands off Hobbes to
Hobbes.
his daughter.
Yeah. Very
And,
very
it's
heartwarming. Yes.
it
Tearjerker.
no, I don't think it's sanctioned or anything, but it was a very fascinating
No.
fascinating extension of the Calvin and Hobbes
Yeah, and he ends up marrying
of life.
Susie, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
In that,
I
yeah,
don't
Susie was
remember.
the mom. I
Yeah.
think Susie was the mom. Yeah. The gal he was always hitting with snowballs.
Snowball,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
I think there couldn't be anything absolutely positively more slice of life than Rex Morgan, which actually Rex Morgan MD, which is actually the comic strip that my cousin Terry Beatty does.
Oh wow! Wait,
Yeah.
Terry Beatty? Terry
Yeah.
Beatty's your cousin?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
get out!
Yeah, he was born and raised in Muscatine, and I was West Liberty, which is 14 miles apart.
So he did some superhero stuff, right?
Oh yeah, and he and
And then
Max
he eventually
Allen
went into
Collins, also from Muscatine,
I
created
loved
Ms. Tree.
Yeah, he did some fantastic stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And then
he
and
worked
then
on
I
the
remember
Batman
he
Adventures
meandered
books.
over into the comic strip stuff, but like his
That's right.
his
Max still lives in
superhero stuff was
Muscatine.
absolutely brilliant. I loved his art.
I didn't know, as a teenager, I did not know that Max was a writer. I knew him as one of the band members of Cruisin' who played at my prom. When I met, because he had a garage band too, and when I met him years later at ChicagoCon, Max Allen Collins, he was with Terry, because they worked together, and I'm like, weren't you in the band Cruisin'? He goes, yeah. I didn't know you were a writer too. I thought you just did music. But no, he's a writer. So yeah, we were all born and raised in the same neighborhood. My mom was from Muscatine, and
Something in the water created comic book people.
must have. Yeah. So Terry,
Mhm.
yes, Terry is my cousin.
So is that your so would that be your father's brother or
Mother's side.
sister or your mother's side?
On my mother's
All
side,
right.
yeah.
And I'm actually seeing a picture here of him, and I can see the family resemblance. So
Yeah, I have the toying resemblance. Here's a one that I really, really enjoy, and I highly recommend. It's from
Yeah.
an Israeli artist, and I'm probably butchering this horribly, but Yehuda Devere
Hmm.
and his
Mhm.
wife Maya. And I love their stuff. It's all about one of these days. It's all about first it started out as them meeting and then getting married and then having their first kid and then their
Yes,
second kid,
yeah.
and they are currently pregnant with their third. And it's
Mm.
all
And that's all being documented in the comic.
that is.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's other slice of life stuff. She's trying to get him to get rid of all of his extra
Yeah.
cord. here.
It's really funny. They have some really funny ones. Yeah.
It's well drawn, well written.
Mm-hmm.
It's another one of those. Yeah, definitely slice of life. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's looking in somebody's window.
His first
so-
shot.
Yeah.
She's squeezing his hand, so he's screaming. She's crying. Baby's screaming. Everybody's screaming. Yeah, it's wonderful. I absolutely adore it. I follow it religiously. And it's all slice of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend it. He's
Uh-huh.
very talented.
I
And
agree.
one of the things I really, really like about it is that he loves his wife in all her forms. So after her pregnancies, she's not in very good shape anymore. And all he sees is how much he loves her, no matter how many stretch marks or how much she's gained weight, stuff like that. He finds it all beautiful. And so he shows her in states where she's like trying to squeeze into an outfit and her top is kind of spilling over and she's like, oh, you're so fat. And all he can see is la 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 la, the comic book tongue hanging out.
And aren't these all really, really short? Like they're usually like one or two, like panel pages.
Yes.
And they tell so much in it because you immediately have like a connection to what they're doing in such a short.
There's a story in that one panel on the screen now. There's a story there.
It's so good.
And there's not a single word is said, but you know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's going on, but just by looking at it. Yep.
Or this one gets me because I'm him in this. I have
Yeah.
totes full of electronic junk.
I have about a box about this big full of stuff that I need to get rid of.
I might
It's
need
like
it
that.
someday.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I had needed something the other day, and I went in that box and I found what I needed.
I've done that too.
So unfortunately now, my wife says, "Oh darn, that means you'll save this stuff for a while longer." Yeah, afraid so.
That's me in our household. I have all the electronic stuff.
Yeah.
Another one that I follow religiously and have for years is Luann. And yes, I have that one coming up too. Here we are on the same wavelength there. This started out when she was like in 5th grade. And it has taken her like 30 years to get into college, but she has progressed very, very, very slowly through life. And she started out, like I said, in 5th grade with her first crush and slowly worked her way up. And her brother, got married and they've gone through all kinds of things, but it has been a progression. It isn't just, he does have like, the daily joke or whatever like that, but there is a very slow progression in their lives where he maintains a continuity. Parents are getting older.
There's a throughput.
Yes.
As I call it. Yep.
It doesn't follow the regular time, but like I said, 30 years to get from 5th grade into college, but now they're in their first year of college and their lives have changed incrementally along the way. The parents have retired and bought a restaurant that they're now running, stuff like that. So that would definitely, to me, be considered to be slice of life because we are seeing a progression as they grow. And here's one of them too. And as he so well put it, Love and Rockets.
Yep.
Have you read that one?
What is this? Rock band? Is that what this is?
So you've never heard of Love and Rockets, Cassisi?
I've never heard of Love and Rockets.
So this is
I've never been a big fan of it myself, but
it was an Eisner Award winner back in the 90s.
Yeah, the artwork is just first rate. It's the Hernandez brothers, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and they essentially do slice of life of these characters, these women, and yeah, it's well written, it's well drawn.
Okay.
It's not my cup of tea for comics. Most slice of life is not so much my cup of tea in comics. I
Mhm.
want a little more adventure, but it's exceedingly well done, and
Yeah.
a well deserved Eisner. Yes.
So if it kind of started off as like a weird pseudo adventure comic that didn't quite turn into adventure.
More of a soap opera.
Yeah,
and then somehow it, so I guess they were just trying to find their feet in the first couple
Well,
issues, and then eventually it just kind of like snowballed into this thing where they just started following these different characters' lives just over like the next 30 years or whatever. I don't know how long it's been going. It's been probably going since what, the mid 1980s.
Yeah.
And so some of the covers on this in this series are just absolutely mind blowing. So they've created some awesome visual punchy pieces that you've probably seen floating around all over the place in pop culture. You just never knew what it's from or what it's about, but you've probably 90%
it's
positive
worth
you've seen
pursuing
images, right? So
if you
yeah,
can find some
now
reference somewhere, maybe a dog-eared copy somewhere to look at. You find real cheap, and I think you'll fall in love with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
it's worth
extremely
looking at.
popular for a long time.
So
Because
I tried to get into it, but again, art fantastic, but just not wasn't my oof.
Yeah,
so,
mine either. But I appreciate it for what it is. I don't hate it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just look at this cover though. It's
Yeah.
the concept. I mean, it's got this V pattern. The gals, there's 5 gals on here. 4 of them are outrageously dressed, and then with the one in the middle at the center of the V, it looks like she's just gotten out of bed.
It
There's
also
curlers in
looks
her
like
hair.
she's giving us the finger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got a bathrobe on, curlers in her hair.
Yep.
And so you look
And
at
then
this,
there's
you
the
want to
blood in
know.
the background too, because you're like, what?
Yeah.
Well,
so there was punkish elements. There's yeah. So but it's mostly following. Is it following like these girls down in Mexico? Is it
Yes.
a Mexican? Yeah. So,
Latinos.
but some of the scenarios that they get put in are like otherworldly scenarios. Sometimes they're on planet Earth. Sometimes they're just normal. But each kind of story is self-contained at the same time as it moves forward. So it's kind of like a weird form of Archie.
And every website that I researched for Slice of Life comics, this was the #1 pick.
Okay.
Yep.
Strangers in Paradise or Love and
Strangers in
Rockets?
Paradise that I mentioned
Nope.
earlier. Yeah,
Strangers in Paradise.
definitely. Yeah.
Why? What makes it #1? I mean, is it just?
Well, I've read the whole thing. So it's Francine they start in high school, and they're best friends in high school. Francine and Kachu. Kachu is the blonde. Francine is the brunette. Francine's always struggling with her weight.
And with life.
And with life. And she's always falling into these situations where she's either embarrassed or in love. And Kachu adores her from afar. Kachu is a lesbian, and she's always been in.
Yeah.
She's always been in love with Francine. Francine is oblivious to this, unrequited for until the very, very, very end. And Francine gets married to Freddie, who's just an absolute douchebag.
DICK, yep.
And David, who is the guy with the long hair here.
Yeah, the Asian guy, right?
Yeah, he's in love with Kachu. And under all of this soap opera, and it's a really long running soap opera of them running into issues. They get apartments, they make friends, they get married, they get divorced. I mean, all through this is an underlying theme that David and Kachu are mixed up with this Yakuza.
Yep.
Okay.
Underworld. Yep.
Underworld.
Yeah,
and
it's got some adventure elements too.
yeah. And Francine's completely oblivious to it all. And it's got your themes of love and death and drama and stuff like that. And it goes for, God, I can't remember how many
I don't know,
issues it ran.
It went through a bunch of different publishers too.
Yeah.
So,
It's so
But-
interesting that you guys said that, though, that there's the element of Yakuza. I was going to ask before you said that, like, man, it must be hard to write a slice of life comic and stay interested in the comic itself. I know you're following somebody's day-to-day life, but it's so, like, without that, I know that you can create tension in love and,
but you think the
divorce and
thing
all
is,
that.
there's so much humor in it too, because Francine's
Yeah.
always making a fool out of herself or falling into the most stupid situations. There's a lot of comedy in Strangers in Paradise.
This is the one slice of life book that I followed.
Mhm.
That, and it's not the genre I care for, but this one sucked me in.
It was that good.
It's that good. Yes,
It is
is
that good.
I tried. Didn't grab me.
That's why it is considered to be the benchmark in
Mm.
American slice
Yeah.
of life. I don't know what about manga. I'm sure that there's a benchmark for that, but I'm only touching on the American slice of life comics.
Mhm.
So that's my very short list that I was able to scramble and put together this afternoon, right before we came on.
What? You're done already? Now
Well,
what?
I am. Yeah, well, we get to talk about what's your ideas of a perfect slice of life comic.
Perfect. Huh?
Saw mine, so
or other excuse me, or other books or comic strips that you would consider to fall into that genre.
So there's a indie one. I've talked about this on the Tuesday show a long time ago called Clove Hitch, and Christopher Albright made it. So it had a Kickstarter a while ago. It was funded. It's a great comic. I would consider this slice of life, but it's about I'll call them garbage men in space. So they're kind of like it's their job to go collect all the space trash.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be on Earth.
Right, and the adventures they go through, and there's, an overarching kind of plot, and there's development that happens in it, but it's just such an interesting idea, garbage men in space, and what the drama that would be associated.
Where would that idea take you?
And the silliness and the aliens.
It sounds like a couple of guys were in a bar having drinks and talking about what would be the best comic book out there.
Right, yeah.
How about a couple of garbage men in space?
Right. Right. That's exactly
let's try that.
Let's just do it. Yeah. No, it is really good though, and I would consider that kind of a slice of life, like an average. Even though it's not average for sure, it's a funny concept. Yeah.
There is several comic runs on major superhero books that edge over into slice of life. As well. Somebody the other day was talking about Teen Titans right now, and I've talked about JLA in the past when Giffen and DeMatteis were writing it, where it was more focused on the characters than the villain of the week.
Big baddie, yeah.
Right. And somebody else said that West Coast JLA was like that because they were
West
Coast always
Avengers?
fighting.
West Coast
yeah,
Avengers.
maybe it
You
was
said
West
JLA,
Coast
but you meant
Avengers. Because they were
Actually-
always fighting amongst themselves and arguing, and it was more about that than it was about fighting the villains. Now, I would consider that to be edging into that.
Yeah, in a strange way, the miniseries, or would it be a maxi series? The Squadron Supreme was kind of like that.
Yes,
it had slice of life elements peppered out throughout the adventure tale as the characters ran through their paces.
it's superheroes
But there was like
in the real world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. There was a bunch of like, all the shenanigans going on between I love this girl, she loves that guy, and then like, but other like just little things that this guy did this one little thing and that caused all these problems. So that was done throughout that run, which was an interesting balance, which kind of gave the characters credibility because it ends up making them real, right? So that was kind of interesting.
And that is
Yeah.
a major, major point on slice of life comics, is that they must be relatable to us
Mhm.
as normal people. Hi,
Yeah.
kitty.
Oh, there's the cat.
The star
got
of the
it.
show.
She's trying to get her airtime.
So speaking of which, are
Yes.
we going to get a Tommy drive-by? We haven't had a Tommy drive-by in a while. So,
No, we haven't.
well,
Or
yeah,
a Monty flyby.
yeah. So,
That's one of the things I liked about the old JLA with Giffen and McManus, was that, they all lived together in this big mansion, right? Oh, and they were all such diverse personalities. So it was like, it was your turn to cook breakfast this morning. Where were you? I was hungover, blah, blah, blah. And Booster Gold and Beetle and Blue Beetle were always trying to come up with the next big get rich quick scheme, and they would.
Yeah, they were the Ralph Cramden and what's the guy upstairs? I'm blanking on his name, in the Honeymooners. They were always trying to come up with a get rich quick scheme, and that's Booster was especially trying to because he's from the future, he figures he can come back in the past and become rich. Well, it never works.
Fire and Ice were always shopping and coming home with stuff, and then making Guy Gardner carry their bags and shit like that. Hey, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
And I considered that to be more fun. They had antics. Happy New Comic Day, yes.
So now here's an interesting thought. Would this be a slice of life thing? What would happen if, like, say, Batman got a paper cut, and then he had to deal with the paper cut through the entire episode of his book because it's driving him nuts?
I think you could make it. It would depend. I think you could.
So he goes out in the fight and he has the paper cut and it's aggravating him, and then now it starts to bleed and it's like bleeding all over the place, and he has to figure out how to fix that, but he has to go and punch this other guy in the face, and then So
See, I think if he did it, if he had to figure it out without punching the people in the face, it would be more.
Right, exactly. So
if we saw Bruce Wayne helping Dick Grayson with his homework, that would be a slice of life.
Oh yeah, that'd be.
I think that actually happens, sort of, in a weird way. In the Nightwing series that I always referenced from the 90s because it was so awesome for 7 years. No, it was a great run. Wait, 70 books. How many years is 70 books? That's more than 7 years.
7 years.
That's a lot longer. Anyways, it was
or Dick Grayson or Jason Todd or whoever, any one of those boys that he's fostered, comes in and flings himself down on the couch and says, "I don't understand girls," you know, something like that.
Neither, son. 70 issues at 12 issues a year is 5.8 years.
Okay, right. Okay.
Throw in
if it was 70 issues
around all the action.
Yeah.
Oh, favorite everyday life comic book and why? Recommendations based on this talk. I want to. Okay, we already went through this, Ryan. You're late to the game.
Well,
Love and
Rocket, but that's okay.
Love and Rocket. Strangers in Paradise.
Bone.
What was the other one?
Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, one day at a time.
One of these days.
One of these days. That's what it is.
Yeah, Yehuda Devere and Maya Devere. And I mentioned that Rex Morgan, that comic strip, was very much slice of life, and it was done by my cousin Terry Beatty.
Wait, what? No, Gasoline Alley was another famous comic strip that was slice of life. That's right. Kind of, and that one ran for like what, 50 years, 70.
It's still running.
It's still running. Good night.
Lord, is it really?
Yeah, and the characters kind of aged along. Not quite. In the real world, but pretty close. The characters aged out. Yeah.
It started in 1933.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
1933. Oh no, launch date. Launch date November 24th, 1918.
Oh,
105 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
and it's still running.
I think so.
And I think, and if you look it up, you can actually still read today on Gasoline Alley on Go Comics.
Yeah, that's where I read Luann, which is another one of my favorites, by the way, Ryan.
Yeah.
Luann, I said that they started like 30 years ago in 5th grade, and they're now finally made it up to college.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
where I read Pickles.
yeah, but it is a
which is
progression.
the old couple.
You know,
Yep.
the first time she got her driver's license, and the first time she got a car, and first time she finally got a boyfriend, stuff like that. You know, it's a bit of slow progression, but it is getting there, and I really like it because they hit on all the relevant stuff that teenagers go through, and
Major
now they're
miles.
into college students, what they go through, what they're going to be.
Milestones in life. Yep.
Right, milestones, and that's a really good way to put it. Her best friend Bernice has always known that she wanted to be a counselor, but Luann's floundering, just taking general classes. She hasn't figured out what she wants to be yet. You know, that's the I recognize.
What
that.
see, this is very interesting to me. What draws you to that story? Because you would think you would get tapped out. You know, it takes a really good writer and a really good artist.
It's humor.
That's
that
it.
type of,
That's it, because it's so well written.
Yeah.
That the characters are real. The characterizations in the stories are real and consistent. The person at the beginning, even when they go through changes, is still the same person.
mm-hmm.
You watch them progress it through life and change, but they're still that same person. It's a realistic progression. That's what's fascinating.
In the case of Luann, it's a comedy. So there's always a funny joke every day, you know, or sarcasm, which I love sarcasm. So anything that's got a lot of sarcasm in it, boy, I'm right there.
That's good. So that's a challenge for I think any writer. Like, you know, first of all, comedy is hard to write. You know, good comedy. So tackling a slice of life comic, man, that may be a challenge. I may have to take that challenge at what point to see if yeah.
Professor Rob Davis in the house. That's right. Well, in like a couple of days ago in Luann, one of their college dorm mates is having a fight with Tiffany, and she says, "I'm a cheerleader. I can read body language." And Tiffany goes, "Oh, really? Read this." And they blank out. They digitize the third finger.
Yeah,
you know, and it's stuff like that. It's great. I love it. I have followed that comic strip for years. As for like manga, boy, I don't know. Is anybody here read any of manga, like romances and stuff?
No, but I just looked up a bunch, and there's some of the slice of life manga general recommendations. The Way of the House Husband.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cough. Sorry.
Blondie.
A Girl on the Shore.
A Girl on the Shore?
That's what it says. My Brother's Husband.
You know, I am scared of this list. I'm just going to tell you, I am really scared of this
A Bride Story.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Slice of Life Spy X Family.
Is that considered? That can't be considered spice.
Apparently.
Well, it's family,
it's
how they do.
So interesting. Yeah, and you know what? That's true. It is slice of life. I mean, there's a lot of action.
So you read it?
Well, I've seen it. So I've seen the anime, right? So then and I'm just thinking of the anime, and I'm like, man, yeah, I guess that's completely right. It's about that. I mean, he's a spy. His wife is an assassin, right? And his daughter is a telekinetic, and they don't kind of know. At least at first, they don't know this about
like
each other.
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles. Yeah.
Yeah, The Incredibles is kind of slice of life.
Yeah, that would have to be the same thing. It's kind of the exact same.
They're trying to live a normal life.
It's normal family interaction, in a fantastic setting.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like the Jetsons and Flintstones. It's a sitcom set in a really wild situation. Yeah,
That's interesting.
or the Munsters and the Addams
Oh,
Family.
yep.
There you
Yep, the
go.
Addams Family. Yes, that. Yep,
Both
completely.
of them.
Yeah,
Have you guys watched Wednesday on
I have not.
Amazon?
I have not. I've only seen some of the trailers.
It is
It
awesome.
looks excellent. It looks.
And she's
excellent.
going to school and she's trying to fit in with the crowd. So she's got all these things going on. But on the side here, there's all this Munsterish stuff or Addams Family stuff, drama and the creepiness factor. So it's a lot of fun. But it would be considered slice of life. Grew up Raina of Munsters and Addams Family.
How's this for a title? My pancreas broke, but my life got better.
And I bet you it's
Oh,
amazing.
man.
That's just amazing.
You know what? I read some web comics, and it makes me laugh when I read the titles because I don't think the translation
is
Yes.
yeah.
It's very accurate. You think?
Something's lost in the translation.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I want
it could be cultural things because
Yes.
I mean, there's probably cultural references that we would never get. So
Yeah, but sometimes also the translation from Japanese into English, they're trying to make the appeal to the English audience, and then they overdo it.
Yeah.
And so I went to Japan when I was a teenager, and they would advertise like a cup, and this floral cup is beautiful in essence, and it's divine, and hopefully it brings you joy and sublime. Like they would do this weird descriptor, but then some of the sentence structure would be completely bonkers. You'd be like, I don't know what you're saying. It sounds fancy, it sounds fun, but it's like they just strung English words together that sounded like they kind of went together. So yeah. So that might be what's happening there. Yeah. Yeah. Slice of life. Yeah.
well, most sitcoms really, when you get right down to it, are slice of life. Big Bang Theory. That's slice of life. Some pretty wild characters, but again, it's watching that the character starts out here, ends up here, but the trail between works because the character's consistent. Everything makes sense for the character. So yeah, that's why I think slice of life is definitely character driven writing, and that's harder to write. I know for a fact. If you come up with a plot, you could stick things in the plot, but character, you gotta make sure that the plot and the character mesh, and if they don't, you got a problem.
And it's perspective too, right? Like, because you choose, it's so hard. I mean, I say that it feels like it would be so hard to present the perspective that would keep the spectator or the reader engaged in that story and not bore them. Right. So, there's things that you do every day that would feel so boring to describe that to a person. So how do you get out of that world when you're writing it to get the things that would really be, page turners?
There's got to be a mystery.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that keeps you coming back. There's a cliffhanger or a mystery or some question. Why are they doing
some weird
this?
connection? Like as soon as you said the Yakuza was in there, I was like, well, okay. Seems
that's
random. How do they?
That's one of the
that
subplots, and it doesn't start out like that.
Yeah.
The book, The Strangers in Paradise, doesn't start out like that at all. Suddenly you veer off into the Yakuza and you go, what? But you
go. First issue is they're doing a
fits.
school musical or something like that, and Francine is on stage and she has a wardrobe malfunction, and in front of the entire school, her top comes off. And that's right off the bat, that she's going to be a klutz and she's going to be constantly fighting embarrassment and everything else, and
She's stumbling over herself all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
making mistakes.
She's
and
getting
stuff
in
like
her own way all the time.
all the time. And the thing is, she's extremely relatable because
Yeah.
everybody feels like they get in their own way all the time.
But that has to be an ingredient of slice of life. I can't even imagine how you would write slice of life and not check that box and people still stay engaged in it. Right? Because if the person is too out there, it doesn't matter if you show me their life. I don't even I can't connect to it in any way. So that
Yep.
you'd have to create a character that is relatable at some aspect, is very relatable, or else I don't know that you could keep.
Yeah, it's best to have a cast of characters with different that are relatable in different ways, because when you exhaust one, then you can move to the other. And if you can somehow start meshing those together, you've got an ongoing story going on. Essentially, at some point, it starts writing itself, I would imagine, because you start the ball rolling, and then boom, 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 boom.
Of all the Silverline characters that you guys follow, which I'm trying to think of who would be, maybe Cat and Mouse. I could see you could easily weave in, or switch weave in maybe.
No. I think Champion and Miss Fury would probably be the best.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Slice of life?
Well, I think they already have an element of that happening. Because Miss Fury has a child, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, so you've got that, and then you have her like looking for work, so she can have a day job, and then so there's an element of that, and then you got Champion who has to deal with his family quandaries.
Yeah, that sounds kind of like Spider-Man, and at certain points in the run of the book.
Kind of reminds me of the old Malibu book, Mantra.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was trying to fit her superheroine life in around raising a daughter while being a man inside, which reincarnated into the body of a woman. But just trying to fit the superhero life in around running after your kid, picking up from school, being a mom, stuff like that. That has got to be difficult. So that's the underlying current.
I think you're right, Martin. I think Miss Fury would be a great one to do that with immediately. You could do it.
Especially if she's trying to keep that a secret from her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got some elements of that in Divinity, from what I've seen.
True. Yeah.
Same bar. Don't.
Yeah.
There are some elements like that in Divinity. So
you could do a whole issue that would be Divinity's slice of life, and I think it would be engaging.
I've been trying to throw in slice of life stuff in. The upcoming issue will have Olivia and Zach are arguing, and in the background, because it's a long argument and it's a lot of exposition, so I wanted to show, keep the audience entertained, and in the background, Vinny's going through Olivia's backpack looking for a granola bar, but instead she finds this huge bra. Whoa! Her eyes are real big, and then she finds a shades of gray.
Okay, wow, we're going there. Okay.
Yeah. So this is you're watching her do this in the background when they're talking over her head, so that while we're getting an info dump from the adults, we're watching her dig through Olivia's backpack. So stuff like that.
Gosh, Wolf Hunter and Team Beetle, I think you could do it with too. This is so interesting. As I think characters, you could probably do really cool slice of life and not even engage a baddie in it, but just dealing with what they're dealing with and navigating that over a whole issue. Just getting to a point where you will engage the baddie or something like that. You could probably do a really good story with those characters.
The second issue of Wolf Hunter is pretty much a slice of life because it's an entire thing that takes place on a train, and so it's
it kind of fulfills
It's
that.
not, it's not, it's kind of, I mean, it's not really dealing with like, everyday things like, I'm going to order a steak from the bar. It's just,
One of
but
the essential things about Slice of Life is that it has to advance the character's personality.
mm,
We have to get insights into the characters
Yes.
through this. We already know that Batman or Superman or Tony Stark or Peter Parker, they're all heroic. They're all have a sense of duty. But what are their fears? What are their what makes them tick? What are their phobias? Spiders. Ah! Is there anything that embarrasses them?
Yeah,
Is there
or
anything-
vices. What vices do they
Yeah,
have?
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's-
What makes them human?
yeah.
What makes them relatable to us?
Like the fact, something comes to my mind immediately, which is a really, really strange fact for me to start pulling out of the back of this brain here, is Jerry Lewis never wore the same pair of socks twice. He'd wear them one day and throw them away. Every day he had a brand new pair of socks.
I think I can live with this.
He never wore a pair of socks twice.
Wow.
Weird. That's just a strange thing. So yeah, every person in the world has
Has their little
a
flicks.
little quirk like that
Yeah.
of some sort.
Yeah, we can't get my grandson to take his off.
Mm.
Yeah,
He
I-
loves
I-
his socks so much he takes them, wears them to bed, and
Us.
yeah, they get pretty gross before you finally get them off him, right?
Yeah, he screams like bloody murder if you try to take him off.
Yeah.
I have a weird quirk
Wow.
where I obsess over music in a weird way that I will listen to like 10 seconds of one song over and over and over again. And I used to
Really?
have this, yeah, or it could be less than that. And I used to have a truck, and every button, like when you could rewind, every button was like pristine except the rewind button, and you couldn't see the
Grungy.
it had worn off. And I don't know why. It's a weird quirk that I have that I will do, and I'll do it for months. I'll listen to the exact same thing for months, and I won't listen to music when other people get in my car because I know I have that tendency, so I don't listen to music.
You don't want to drive them crazy with your
And I know it
obsession.
would. I know that's not a normal
Oh
thing.
gosh,
so I
yeah.
don't-
So,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so can you listen to the radio in your car?
No, in fact, I don't listen to the radio. I do not like. I always have music going in my head.
Uh-huh.
The only thing I can do is override the song in my head with what
Uh-huh.
I'm listening to. So even if I'm not rewinding the song, I'm listening to that same thing and maybe adding a few things in my head over and over and over.
And
again.
then, did you ever then compute it out and then like generate something of your own out of it?
No, I've never made like music in that.
Oh, okay. But you can hear it in your head.
Yeah, and I can add to it. So I
Yeah.
can, if I were to ever do
the
it,
same thing.
learn it, yeah.
I do
Yeah.
that with like if I'm daydreaming or thinking about a movie or anything, like how would I change it? I can
Mhm.
see it in my head, the scenery, but then I'm also writing it out.
So maybe this is where like that AI stuff that we were talking about before the show started might come in. Like this is stuff we want to do but we can't do. So then we go,
Yeah.
hey, maybe this little AI thing over here.
So I can't even enjoy my daydreams because I'm trying to write them as a reader would read them, in a
Mhm.
book. And like,
Mm.
okay, why can't I just focus on this scene instead of trying to translate it
How
into
do I
literature?
get what I see here and feel inside here out of there and onto the page
See,
or
as-
onto the film or onto the video?
Mhm.
So
As
yeah,
visual
how do I
artists,
get
I would
that
think
there?
that you guys have weird. I would think you have weird quirks. As visual artists, you probably think of the world and do things in a what I would say is a weird way, but is very expressive and unique to you
Yeah.
being able to do the thing that you do, like to put an image onto a
Well,
different medium. I would think, or see the color in a different way. I don't. My
Seeing
brain doesn't work that way.
patterns everywhere, seeing faces in patterns in
Yeah,
the carpet,
yeah.
carpet, or
Yeah.
in the tile on the floor. There's some tile in the bathroom, the main bathroom in our house, and there's these swoopy colors in it, and it looks like a cartoon character in profile with her mouth open and her hair flinging black. And when I sit down in the bathroom, I see that every day.
You have to draw it now.
How can I unsee that?
Have you ever looked at a tile floor that's like got a checkerboard pattern in it somewhere?
Yep.
And then if you just slightly cross your eyes, you can make it separate and become 3D.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the my brain just does not operate.
So just out of curiosity, Rob, now that we've gone on this whole different tangent here, like when you're drawing, do you actually draw what you see in your mind? Like, is that, or is
closest I can get?
Okay. So there was the famous artist for Disney there for years and years and years. What's his name?
Wasn't Carl Barks, is it?
Not Carl Barks. No. He was in the animation
Okay. Yeah.
biz. He was in the animation side, and he did a wonderful children's series about a lion. I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head, but it's not coming to me. But he was the lead guy on Tarzan. So he related a story that he was talking to one of the guys who was, at the time was his mentor, and the mentor said, well, what you do is you sit and you really think about what you want to draw, and you picture it in your mind, and you get that picture in your head. You really think about it, and you look at it, and you analyze it, and and then what you do is you draw what you see in your mind onto the paper. And this artist said, no, that's not how I do it. That's not how it works for me. It doesn't, I can't see the picture in my head. He says, I think about the idea of what I want. He doesn't necessarily see the picture, but then once he starts drawing, then everything kind of pops out. Whereas the other guy, he could actually see what he wanted, and that actually appeared on the page. There's
a difference between.
I'm the second version. My style is not. My style is not intentional, if that makes any sense.
It's just the way it comes out.
It's kind of, so now it is and it isn't. So it is intentional in the shape, in the sense that I do create shapes and stuff that I want this kind of a shape to happen. But it's not intentional in the sense that, like, if I'm trying, if like we created the character a while back called Catahoula, right? Mm-hmm. So that character, the character, his look and feel and all that kind of stuff and whatever and all that element, he just kind of formed itself, if you will. Like I had things suggesting what he's going to turn into, but I can't say that the reference was direct. It kind of just, okay, I know what I want.
I was in on that, and it kind of cascaded. You had a general idea to start with, and you were bouncing stuff off of me. And when it bounced off of me, it didn't always go the same direction I went.
Yeah.
What I would do would spring something in your head, and you go off at a different tangent.
Yeah.
Which was kind of fascinating for me, because I'd never seen that happen before. It's usually, when I'm bouncing stuff off a writer, we come together and we start going the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with you, it was boing and it went off this way. I kept going this way, and you kept bouncing off of me and going other places. It was very interesting. I didn't know quite how to handle that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, now that we've gone off on a completely different
tangent,
we should probably wrap it up for the night. Yes.
There's a topic.
So now later. Yeah. So then, how do we then incorporate that into slice of life? How do we?
Yeah.
You take a story out of each of those. That's
yeah.
I think we just gave you your topic you were looking for, though.
Yeah.
How do you get from here to there?
How does what's in here get out there, get out into the world?
He was looking for those of you out there. He was looking before the show came on. He was looking for a topic for one of our shows.
So Cassisi, you okay if we take that as the 13th then? Or do you have something that you really want to do?
I'm gonna think about it. I think I want to do something else, but I want to.
Okay, well, if you come up with something, then you want to take the next week then.
Sure.
How about we talk about this?
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, I'm trying to plant the little whatever for the people who might be watching here, so that they go, hey, what's?
Yeah, you're seeing a little of what we do after we get off, before we get on the air, and after we get on the air. We talk about what we're going to talk about next time, or in a few weeks, or whatever. Yeah. So that's where this is coming from.
And just FYI quirks, you do never mix the large paper clips with the small paper clips. So on that note, we are going to end the show by our favorite saying, make mine Silverline.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline. You heard me.